It was supposed to be a celebration, the kind of moment you dream about for years, work toward with every ounce of effort you have. Instead, it became the catalyst for everything that followed. I was standing in our living room, holding the promotion letter in my trembling hands, watching my wife Elena's face as I told her the news. What I saw there wasn't pride or joy. It was something far worse, contempt mixed with barely concealed amusement. And standing beside her, smirking like he owned the place, was Derek, her colleague from the marketing firm downtown. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Logan Pierce, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had a pretty good life. I'd been working at Hartwell Industries for 8 years, grinding away in the operations department, putting in 60-hour weeks, taking on projects nobody else wanted. Elena and I had been married for 6 years. We met in college. She was studying communications. I was in business management. Back then, she used to look at me like I hung the moon. She'd brag to her friends about my work ethic, my dedication, my plans for the future. Somewhere along the way, that changed. The promotion I'd received that Tuesday afternoon was to Senior Operations Director, a position that came with a substantial raise, a corner office, and real influence in the company. It was everything I'd been working toward. The previous director, Mr. Harrison, had personally recommended me before his retirement. He'd called me into his office that morning, shook my hand with both of his, and told me I'd earned it. I drove home that evening with the radio blasting, rehearsing how I'd tell Elena. Maybe we'd finally take that trip to Italy she'd been talking about. Maybe we could start looking at bigger houses. Maybe things between us would get back to how they used to be. The first sign something was wrong came when I pulled into our driveway and saw Derek's silver Audi parked on the street. Derek worked with Elena at Brightstone Marketing. According to her, he was just a colleague, someone from a different department who occasionally collaborated on projects. But he'd been showing up at our house more frequently over the past few months, always with some excuse about needing Elena's input on a campaign or wanting to discuss strategy. I'd raised my concerns once. Elena had laughed it off, called me paranoid, and reminded me that we lived in the 21st century where men and women could be professional colleagues without it meaning anything more. I'd let it go, tried to push down the uneasy feeling in my gut. When I walked through the front door, I heard laughter from the living room. Not just Elena's laugh, that musical sound I'd fallen in love with years ago, but deeper, masculine laughter mixed with hers. They were sitting on the couch together, closer than necessary, with Elena's laptop open between them. Derek had his jacket off, tie loosened, looking far too comfortable in my home. "Hey," I said, trying to keep my voice light. "What's going on?" Elena barely glanced up. "Oh, Logan, Derek and I are working on the Henderson presentation. It's due Friday." "On a Tuesday evening?" "Some of us don't work 9-to-5 schedules," Derek said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He was one of those guys who'd been handsome his whole life and knew it. Tall, athletic build, perfectly styled dark hair, the kind of smile that probably got him whatever he wanted. "Creative work doesn't punch a clock." I bit back my response. I'd been at work since 6 that morning and wouldn't have left until 8 if not for the promotion news. But I wasn't going to get into a measuring contest with this guy in my own living room. "Actually, I have some news," I said, looking at Elena. "Can we talk for a minute?" She sighed, an exaggerated sound of inconvenience. "Can it wait? We're right in the middle of something." "It's important. Everything's always important with you, Logan." But she stood up, motioning for me to follow her to the kitchen. I pulled the letter from my jacket pocket, unfolded it, and handed it to her. "I got the promotion. Senior Operations Director. It's official." I watched her face as she read it, searching for the pride, the excitement, the joy I'd been hoping for. Instead, her expression remained neutral, almost bored. "That's nice," she said finally, handing the letter back. "Nice? Elena, this is huge. It's a 40% raise. It means we can What does it really mean, Logan?" She leaned against the counter, crossing her arms. "More hours? More stress? More nights when you come home too exhausted to do anything but collapse on the couch?" "It means I'm valued. It means my work matters." "Your work?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You manage schedules and optimize shipping routes, Logan. Don't dress it up as something more profound than it is." The words hit like physical blows. I stood there, stunned, trying to process what I was hearing. "I thought you'd be happy," I managed. "Happy?" She pushed past me, heading back toward the living room. "Sure, congratulations." But her tone said otherwise, and when we returned to the living room, she immediately turned to Derek. "Logan got a promotion at work," she announced, her voice flat. Derek looked up from the laptop. "Oh yeah? Congrats, man. What's the new role?" "Senior Operations Director," I said quietly. "At Hartwell Industries, right?" He nodded slowly, that same condescending smile playing at his lips. "Nice. Operations is important. Someone's got to keep things running smoothly so the rest of us can focus on growth and innovation." Elena laughed. "Exactly. Logan's always been good at the detail work, making sure everything's organized, on schedule. It's his thing." I felt my face burning. This was supposed to be my moment, my achievement, and somehow it had turned into a joke between my wife and her colleague. "It's a significant position," I said, hating how defensive I sounded. "Of course it is," Derek said smoothly. "Every company needs solid operational support, just not as flashy as some other roles, you know?" "Like what you do?" I couldn't keep the edge from my voice. "Derek just got promoted too," Elena interjected quickly. "Creative Director. He'll be leading the entire creative team at Brightstone." "Congratulations," I forced out. "Thanks, man." Derek stood, stretching. "I should probably head out. Elena, let's finish this tomorrow." "Sounds good," she said, walking him to the door. I didn't watch them say goodbye. I stood in the living room, the promotion letter crumpled in my fist, wondering how the best day of my professional life had turned into one of the worst moments of my marriage. After Derek left, Elena went straight to the bedroom without another word. I stood there for a long time before finally following. She was already in bed, back turned to me. I changed and lay down, staring at the ceiling in the darkness. "Elena?" I said quietly. "I'm tired, Logan." "Why did you react that way? About the promotion?" She was silent for so long I thought she'd fallen asleep. Then, "Because I'm tired of pretending that what you do is impressive when it's really just ordinary." The words hung in the air between us. "I see," I said. We didn't speak again that night. The next morning, I went to work early. The new role didn't officially start for 2 weeks, but I needed to be anywhere but home. I spent the day meeting with department heads, reviewing processes, trying to focus on anything other than my wife's contempt. Over the next week, I started paying closer attention. Derek's visits increased, 3 times that week alone. Elena started dressing more carefully, spending longer on her appearance even for supposed work sessions at home. She'd always been beautiful, but now there was a deliberateness to it that made my stomach churn. I began documenting things, not in a paranoid way. I wasn't tracking her every move, but I started keeping mental notes of when Derek came over, how long he stayed, the excuses given. I also started coming home at unpredictable times. On Thursday evening, I left work early and found them on the back patio. It was past 7, getting dark, and they were sharing a bottle of wine. When I walked out, they both jumped slightly. "Logan!" Elena's voice was too bright. "You're home early." "Apparently." I looked at the wine bottle, nearly empty. "Working hard?" "Just wrapping up," Derek said, standing quickly. "I should get going anyway." After he left, Elena turned on me. "What was that about?" "What was what about?" "The attitude, the suspicion. We were just having a drink after a long work session. On a Thursday night, at 7:30, just the two of you. God, Logan, not this again. I told you, Derek and I work together. That's all." "Right, that's all." She stormed inside, and I stood on the patio alone, wondering when my marriage had become something I no longer recognized. The following week was my official start as Senior Operations Director. The work was demanding, but satisfying. I had real authority now, real impact. My team responded well to my leadership style, and within days I'd identified 3 major inefficiencies we could address. But every night, I came home to a house that felt more like a minefield than a sanctuary. Then, on a Tuesday evening, exactly 2 weeks after my promotion announcement, I came home to find Elena, Derek, and 2 other people I didn't recognize sitting in our living room. There was a spread of documents on the coffee table, a bottle of wine open, the atmosphere casual but focused. Elena looked up as I entered. "Logan, perfect timing. These are some colleagues. This is Catherine and Brian. They're consultants." The woman, Catherine, was probably in her mid-40s. Well-dressed, professional. The man, Brian, was younger, maybe early 30s, wearing an expensive watch and designer glasses. "Consultants for what?" I asked. "Derek and I have been developing a business concept," Elena said, her tone implying I should already know this. "An agency focused on emerging markets. Catherine specializes in startup development, and Brian has connections in the investment community." My stomach dropped. "Since when?" "We've been exploring it for a while," Derek said casually. "Elena's got great instincts for this kind of thing." "How long is a while?" "Does it matter?" Elena's voice had an edge. "The point is, we're at the stage where we need to start thinking seriously about funding and structure." I set down my briefcase carefully. "And nobody thought to mention this to me?" "I was going to tell you," Elena said. "But you've been so focused on your new position, and the timing never seemed right." "The timing never seemed right to tell me my wife is planning to start a business with another man?" The room went quiet. Catherine and Brian exchanged uncomfortable glances. "Logan, maybe we should discuss this privately," Elena said through clenched teeth. "No, I think we should discuss it right now. What exactly is this venture?" Derek leaned forward. "Look, man, I get that this might seem sudden from your perspective, but Elena and I have complementary skills. We've identified a real gap in the market, and we've been doing our homework. This isn't some half-baked idea." "Really? What's your background in running a business, Derek?" His smile faltered slightly. "I've been part of several startup discussions, and I understand the creative side." "Discussions? So no actual business is launched?" "Logan, you're being rude," Elena snapped. "I'm being rude? I come home to find my living room turned into a secret business meeting, and I'm the rude one?" Catherine stood smoothly. "I think perhaps we should reschedule." "Elena, Derek, why? Don't we regroup next week once you've had a chance to sort things out?" "That might be best," Brian agreed, already gathering his papers. They left quickly, professionally, leaving behind an awkward silence and a half-empty wine bottle. Elena rounded on me the moment the door closed. "How dare you embarrass me like that?" "Embarrass you? You've been planning a business venture behind my back, and you're worried about embarrassment?" "I wasn't planning it behind your back. I was developing an idea before bringing it to you." "For how long?" She hesitated. "A few months." "How many months?" "I don't know, Logan. 3, 4? What does it matter?" "It matters because you've been lying to me. All these work sessions with Derek, this is what you've been doing?" "We have been working, just not only on Brightstone projects." "And when were you planning to tell me?" "When it was more concrete, when we had something real to present." "Like a funding request?" I asked quietly. Her face flushed. "We need capital, yes. That's how businesses start." "And you assumed I'd provide it?" "You're my husband. Your recent promotion means we're in a better position financially, so that's what this is about. My promotion wasn't impressive, but it sure as hell made me useful, didn't it?" "That's not... Logan, you're twisting everything." "Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been mocking my career while simultaneously planning to use my income to fund your exit strategy with Derek." "There is no exit strategy. God, why are you so paranoid?" "Maybe because my wife spends more time with her male colleague than with me. Maybe because she can't even pretend to be happy about my success. Maybe because I'm not blind, Elena." She stared at me, and for a moment I thought she might finally tell me the truth. Instead, she grabbed her purse. "I can't deal with this right now. I'm leaving." "Where are you going?" "Out, away from you and your accusations." She left, and I stood in our living room surrounded by the detritus of their secret meeting. I picked up one of the documents they'd left behind, a preliminary business plan. As I read through it, my anger gave way to something colder. The plan was ambitious, but vague on details, heavy on vision, light on execution. The financial projections were optimistic to the point of fantasy, and there, in the funding section, was a line item. Potential investor, L. Pierce, spouse, Estinsa $150K, over 18 months. They'd already budgeted my money. That night, I did something I'm not proud of. I tried to log into Elena's email. Our home computer had her credentials saved. We'd always had open access to each other's accounts, back when we trusted each other. But when I tried to access it, I found she'd changed her password. The fact that she'd locked me out told me everything I needed to know. I sat there in our home office, staring at the password prompt, and realized I was living with a stranger. The woman I'd married wouldn't have hidden business plans from me. She wouldn't have budgeted my salary without asking. She wouldn't have changed her passwords. Unless she had something to hide. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I started making plans of my own. The next morning, I called our bank and separated our accounts. Not closing anything, just making sure she couldn't access my income directly. Then I called a lawyer, not to file for divorce, not yet, but to understand my options. "Document everything," the lawyer advised. "Keep records of financial discussions, unusual expenses, anything that establishes a pattern, and protect your assets. If she's planning a venture that could create debt, you want to make sure you're not liable." I also did something else. I called an old colleague, James Rodriguez, who'd left Hartwell 2 years ago to join a manufacturing company in Denver. We'd stayed in touch, and I knew his company was expanding. "James, I need to ask you something. Is your company still growing?" "Absolutely. Why? Are you hiring for operations roles?" There was a pause. "Logan, are you looking to leave Hartwell? You just got promoted." "I might be. I'm exploring options." "Well, yeah, we're actually about to post for a senior operations role. New facility launching next year, someone needs to head up the implementation. But Logan, what's going on?" "Personal situation. I might need a change." "Say no more. Send me your updated resume. I can't promise anything, but I'll make sure it gets to the right people." When Elena came home late that night, nearly midnight, I was still awake, sitting in the living room. "We need to talk," I said. "I'm exhausted, Logan." "This can't wait. I saw the business plan. The one you and Derek left here. She froze halfway to the bedroom. You went through my things? They were on our coffee table. And I saw the funding line, $150,000, from me, that you never asked me about. It was preliminary, just an estimate of possibilities. You budgeted my salary without consulting me. For a business you're starting with another man. How is that okay, Elena? She turned to face me, and in the dim light I saw something in her expression I couldn't quite read. Guilt? Defiance? Both? I knew you'd react like this, she said finally. That's why I didn't tell you. React like what? Like someone who deserves to be consulted about major financial decisions? React with negativity, shooting down ideas before they even have a chance. You've always been like this, Logan. Cautious, risk-averse, content with safe choices. And you've always been like this? A liar? She flinched. I'm not a liar. No? Then tell me the truth. What's really going on with you and Derek? Nothing is going on. He's my business partner. Just your business partner? Yes. Then why do you light up when he's around? Why do you dress differently? On days he's coming over? Why have you changed all your passwords? Because you're suffocating me, she exploded. You watch everything I do, question everyone I see, act like I'm your property instead of my own person. I'm trying to understand why my wife is shutting me out while growing closer to another man. Maybe because that other man believes in me. Maybe because he sees potential in me that you've never bothered to look for. The words hung between us like smoke. I've always believed in you, I said quietly. No, Logan. You've always been comfortable with me. There's a difference. Derek challenges me, pushes me to think bigger, to want more than a comfortable suburban life married to a mid-level manager. Senior director, I corrected automatically. Whatever. The point is, I want something more, and Derek's helping me build it. With my money. It would be an investment. If the business succeeds, we both benefit. There is no we if you're starting a company with him, Elena. Don't you see that? You're building a future with Derek and expecting me to finance it. You're being dramatic. Am I? How long before this business requires more of your time? More late nights, more travel together, more opportunities to be alone? And I'm supposed to smile and pay for the privilege of watching my marriage dissolve? She opened her mouth, closed it, then tried again. I don't know what you want me to say. I want you to be honest. Is there something between you and Derek? No. But she said it too quickly, and she wouldn't meet my eyes. Okay, I said, okay. What does that mean? It means I'm done asking questions I already know the answers to. It means things are going to change, Elena. Starting now. What's that supposed to mean? But I just walked to the bedroom, grabbed a pillow and blanket, and went to sleep on the couch. Over the next 2 weeks, I pulled back from everything. I was cordial, but distant with Elena. I threw myself into work, staying late, volunteering for extra projects, and I quietly waited to hear back from James in Denver. The callback came on a Friday afternoon. Logan, I've got good news. Our VP of Operations wants to meet you. Can you fly out next week? Absolutely. Fair warning. If this works out, we'd need you relatively soon. The facility project is already in motion, and we're behind on staffing. How soon? Ideally within a month? That works for me. I flew to Denver the following Tuesday, telling Elena I had a conference. The interview went better than I'd hoped. The company, Morrison Manufacturing, was smaller than Hartwell, but growing rapidly. The operations role would give me oversight of 2 existing facilities, plus the new one launching in 6 months. We need someone who can hit the ground running. The VP, Patricia Chen. Wait, I needed to use a different name. Patricia Morrison explained. Someone who understands not just operations, but strategic growth. From what James says, that's you. I'm interested, I said. Very interested. The salary would be competitive with your current position, probably 10 to 15% higher given the cost of living adjustment. And we'd offer relocation assistance. When would you need a decision? Ideally within 2 weeks. This is a critical role, and we're already operating behind schedule. I flew home that night with a job offer letter being drafted. By the time I landed, it was waiting in my email. Elena was asleep when I got home. I sat in our kitchen, reading through the offer, and made my decision. The next morning over coffee, I told her, I've been offered a position in Denver, operations management, overseeing multiple facilities. She looked up from her phone. What? When did this happen? I've been exploring options. You've been job hunting? While complaining about me keeping secrets? I've been protecting myself. There's a difference. Logan, we can't move to Denver. My career is here. The business plan is here. I said I've been offered a position. I didn't say we were moving. Her face went pale. What are you saying? I'm saying I'm taking the job. What you do is up to you. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. I'm not staying in a marriage where I'm treated as a bank account and mocked for my achievements. I'm not staying in a house where another man is more welcome than I am. I'm done, Elena. So you're just leaving? After 6 years of marriage, you're just walking away? I'm not the one who walked away. You did that months ago when you started planning a future that didn't include me, except as a funding source. This is insane. You're throwing away our marriage over paranoid jealousy. I'm leaving because you don't respect me. You've made that abundantly clear. She stared at me, coffee forgotten. When? I start in 3 weeks. 3 weeks? Logan, you can't. We need to talk about this, figure things out. We can talk, but I'm taking the job either way. If you want to come with me, if you want to try to salvage this marriage, we can discuss terms. But I'm not staying here. Terms? Complete honesty. No more Derek. No more secret business plans. Couples counseling. A real effort to rebuild what we had, if that's even possible. You're giving me an ultimatum. I'm giving you a choice. The same choice you've been making for months. Who do you want to build a future with? She stood up abruptly, grabbing her purse and keys. I need to think. Take your time. You've got 3 weeks. She left without another word. I called out of work that day and spent it making practical arrangements. I contacted a realtor about possibly selling the house. I researched divorce attorneys, just in case. I started sorting through our belongings, mentally cataloging what was mine, what was hers, what was ours. Elena didn't come home that night, or the next. She finally showed up Sunday afternoon, looking exhausted. I've been staying with my sister, she said. I needed space to think. And this is crazy, Logan. You're blowing up our entire life over unfounded suspicions. They're not unfounded. Nothing has happened between me and Derek. Maybe not physically, but emotionally? You've already left me, Elena. I'm just acknowledging reality. She sank onto the couch. What if I ended the business plan? What if I told Derek I wasn't interested anymore? Is that what you want? Or is that what you think I want to hear? She didn't answer. That's what I thought, I said. Look, I don't hate you. I'm not even sure I don't still love you. But I can't stay in this limbo, watching you grow closer to someone else while pretending everything's fine. I deserve better than that. So do I, she whispered. You're right. You do. Maybe we both deserve better than what we've become. The next 2 weeks were strange. We lived in the same house, but separate lives. Elena went to work, came home late. I packed, made arrangements, said goodbye to colleagues. We were polite when we crossed paths, but the warmth was gone. I heard through a mutual friend that Derek had backed out of the business venture. Apparently, without my potential funding, the whole thing fell apart. Catherine and Brian had moved on to other projects. Part of me felt vindicated. Part of me just felt sad. 3 days before I was scheduled to leave, Elena asked me to meet her for dinner. We went to the Italian place where I'd proposed 6 years earlier, her choice, and I wondered if that was deliberate. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she said after we'd ordered. "About us, about what went wrong, about who I've become. And you were right. About a lot of it. I did get caught up in something. Not an affair exactly, but an emotional escape. Derek made me feel interesting, exciting, like I was more than just this." She gestured vaguely at herself. "Does that make sense?" "Yeah, it does. But in chasing that feeling, I hurt you. I dismissed your success because it made me feel small about my own stalled career. I planned things behind your back because I was ashamed that I needed your money to feel independent. I pushed you away because it was easier than dealing with my own insecurities." I didn't say anything, just let her talk. The business plan was stupid. I knew it was stupid even while we were working on it. Derek's ideas were half-baked. The projections were fantasy, and I didn't even really want to be an entrepreneur. I just wanted to feel like I was doing something important. "You've always done important work, Elena." "I know. I mean, intellectually I know, but I didn't feel it. And instead of dealing with that, I tried to create this alternative reality where I was a bold risk-taker building something revolutionary." She laughed bitterly. "With someone else's money." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because you're leaving in 3 days, and I don't want you to go thinking you weren't enough." "You were enough, Logan. I was the problem." "We both had problems," I said. "I worked too much, prioritized career over relationship, probably checked out emotionally before things got bad." "Maybe, but I'm the one who handled it by planning an escape with another man." We sat in silence for a while, picking at our food. "Elena, I need to ask you something, and I need the truth. Did you sleep with him?" She looked me in the eye. "No. I swear to you, no. We kissed once, at a work happy hour about 2 months ago. It was stupid. We were both drunk, and it didn't mean anything. But that's all that happened physically." "But emotionally?" "Emotionally, I let him get too close. I let him become what you should have been for me. My confidant, my cheerleader, my escape. That's almost worse, isn't it?" "I don't know. Maybe." "Are you still taking the job?" "Yes." "Even after this conversation?" "Elena, one honest conversation doesn't undo months of damage. It's a start, but it's not enough." "What would be enough?" "I don't know. Time? Proof that things can actually change? Right now, I don't trust you and you don't respect me. We can't build a marriage on that foundation." "What if I came with you?" I looked at her, surprised. "To Denver," she continued. "What if I came with you, found a job there, started over?" "Why would you do that?" "Because maybe we both need a fresh start. Away from Derek, from Brightstone, from all of it." "You'd give up your career here?" "My career's going nowhere anyway. Maybe that's part of the problem. I've been stuck in the same position for 3 years, watching younger people get promoted past me, feeling like I missed my window. A fresh start might be exactly what I need." I thought about it. Part of me wanted to say yes immediately, to grab this olive branch and hold on tight. But another part, the part that had been hurt and humiliated, was more cautious. "If you came, things would have to be different," I said finally. "Completely transparent. Counseling. And you'd have to find your own job, build your own career. I can't be your safety net anymore." "I understand." "I'm serious, Elena. I can't go through this again. If you come to Denver, it has to be because you want to fix us, not because it's convenient or because your plan A fell through." "I want to fix us," she said quietly. I really do. Okay, then you can come. But we're getting separate apartments for the first few months. Space to figure things out without the pressure of pretending everything's fine. Separate apartments? Yes. If we're going to rebuild, we need to do it right. Not just fall back into old patterns because it's easier. She nodded slowly. Okay, if that's what you need. It is. We finished dinner in relative peace, the first comfortable meal we'd shared in months. It wasn't perfect, and I wasn't naive enough to think all our problems were solved. But it was something. 2 days later, I loaded up a moving truck and drove to Denver. Elena stayed behind to wrap up her job and apartment hunt. We'd agreed she'd join me in a month. The first few weeks in Denver were chaotic. Morrison Manufacturing was exactly as advertised, growing fast, slightly disorganized, desperate for operational structure. I threw myself into the work, fixing processes, streamlining communication, building a team. Patricia Morrison was an excellent boss, direct, supportive, trusting, but not absent. You've got good instincts, she told me after my second week. We made the right call bringing you on. Elena and I talked every few days. She'd given her notice at Brightstone, was interviewing with marketing firms in Denver. Derek, she told me, had moved to a different company. They didn't speak anymore. How do you feel about that? I asked during one call. Relieved, mostly. It's easier not seeing him, not having that temptation hanging around. Temptation? Not to cheat. Temptation to fall back into that fantasy world where everything seemed possible. And now? Now I'm trying to be present in reality. It's harder, but it's real. A month after I arrived, Elena flew out to see the apartments she'd found. We'd agreed on places in the same neighborhood but different buildings, close enough to be convenient, far enough to maintain space. Seeing her at the airport felt strange, familiar but foreign, like running into someone you used to know well but had lost touch with. Hi, she said. Hi. We hugged awkwardly. Over the next few days, she looked at apartments, toured the city, had interviews. I watched her navigate this new place, and I realized how much I'd missed just seeing her. Even when things were bad, she'd been a constant presence in my life. Her absence had left a hole I'd been ignoring. On her last night in town, we had dinner at a small restaurant near my apartment. I got a job offer, she said. It's with Elevation Marketing. They're mid-sized, focus on outdoor and lifestyle brands. Good salary, room for growth. They want me to start in 3 weeks. That's great. Congratulations. Thanks. It feels good to have something lined up. She paused. I also found an apartment. It's about 10 minutes from yours. You're really doing this. I'm really doing this, if you still want me to. I do. But Elena, I need you to be sure, really sure. Because if we do this and it doesn't work, it's going to hurt even worse than it already has. I'm sure, she said. I've spent the last month realizing how much I took for granted. You, us, what we had. I don't expect you to trust me right away, but I'm willing to work for it. Okay, then let's try. That was 6 weeks ago. Since then, we've been existing in parallel, I guess. We have dinner once or twice a week. We've started seeing a therapist together. Elena's doing well at her new job, finding her footing in a company that seems to actually value her contributions. Slowly, carefully, we're learning how to be around each other again. It's not easy. There are nights when I lie awake in my apartment, wondering if I'm making a huge mistake. There are moments during therapy when old resentments surface, and we have to work through them all over again. But there are also good moments. Last week, Elena sent me a text in the middle of the workday. Just wanted to say I'm proud of you. My coworker asked about my husband's job, and I actually bragged about you. It felt good. Those small moments matter more than the grand gestures. As for Derek, I heard through a mutual connection that he's working on another startup idea. Some things never change. I don't think about him much anymore. He was a symptom of our problems, not the cause. The real revelation in all of this wasn't about Elena's betrayal or Derek's opportunism. It was about understanding my own worth. For too long, I'd accepted Elena's narrative that operations work was somehow less impressive, less important. I'd internalized the idea that because my job wasn't creative or flashy, it was ordinary. But these past weeks at Morrison have shown me the truth. Good operations are the difference between chaos and success. When I streamlined their supply chain, we reduced costs by 18%. When I restructured their facility management, productivity increased across the board. When I implemented better communication systems, employee satisfaction scores jumped. None of that is glamorous. But it's real, it matters, and it requires skill and leadership. I'm not just an operations director. I'm the person who makes sure things work, who builds systems that allow everyone else to succeed, who solves problems before they become crises. There's nothing ordinary about that. Last night, Elena and I had dinner at my apartment, the first time she'd been inside. We cooked together, awkwardly navigating the small kitchen, laughing when we kept getting in each other's way. "This is nice," she said as we sat down to eat. "It is." "Logan, can I ask you something?" "Sure." "If I hadn't agreed to come to Denver, if I'd chosen to stay, to pursue the business with Derek, would you have filed for divorce?" I considered the question carefully. "Probably not immediately, but eventually, yes. I couldn't stay married to someone who didn't respect me." "And now? Now I'm hopeful, cautiously hopeful. We have a long way to go, but at least we're both trying. I know I don't say this enough, but I'm sorry. Really, truly sorry for all of it, for dismissing your success, for planning behind your back, for letting Derek become more important than you. I was selfish and cruel, and you didn't deserve any of it. Thank you for saying that. Do you forgive me? I'm working on it. Some days are easier than others." "That's fair." We finished dinner and did the dishes together. When she got ready to leave, we hugged at the door. Longer this time. More genuine. "See you Thursday?" she asked. "Thursday," I confirmed. That's our therapy day. After she left, I sat on my couch and thought about everything that had happened. 3 months ago, I was standing in my living room being mocked for my promotion, watching my marriage implode in real time. Today, I'm building a new life in a new city, with better career prospects and a clearer sense of who I am. Elena and I might make it. We might not. But either way, I'll be okay. Because I finally understand that my worth doesn't depend on whether my wife respects me or whether some marketing executive thinks my job is exciting. My worth comes from the work I do, the problems I solve, the teams I lead, and the person I choose to be when everything falls apart. Derek and Elena thought my promotion would make me easier to manipulate, a better source of funding for their plans. Instead, it gave me the confidence to recognize what was happening and the resources to change my entire life. Their plan collapsed. But I didn't. And that's the real victory. Tomorrow, I have a meeting with Patricia about possibly expanding my role even further, overseeing operations for Morrison's entire western region. It's the kind of opportunity that would have been impossible at Hartwell, and it's mine because I had the courage to walk away from a situation that wasn't working. Elena has her own opportunities now, too. She's thriving at elevation, getting the recognition she craved, building something real instead of chasing fantasies. Maybe we'll find our way back to each other. Maybe we won't. But we're both becoming better versions of ourselves, and that matters more than anything. The story isn't over. But for the first time in a long time, I'm okay with not knowing how it ends. I'm just focused on writing the next chapter, whatever that might be.